Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for the Rwagnation League Grand Prix here in Silverstone. I'm Ben Raggy McConnell, and joining me on the caster's desk is the legendary Furball. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm very good. Looking forward to some hopefully exciting F2 racing. How about yourself?
I am very excited, actually. I'm noticing, though, my headset did an update recently, and for some strange reason, it's decided that every sound that goes through it is ridiculously loud. So I'm not sure exactly why. I will have to. I've turned it down a little bit now, so there may be a little bit of playing around with it to try and get it to work properly. But nonetheless, that will not stop us from enjoying the fun as we are here in Britain. Now, who do you want to go on board with for the qualifying?
I don't remember who won last time, but let's go on board with Max Thorn, because he did very well last week in Austria.
Yeah.
Was about to win the first race, the feature race, and just spun out on the very last lap.
Well, it was a good one. I remember in particular he was doing everything he needed to do in order to win the race, and then bottled it. Second race was a lot better from him, but still wasn't enough for him to close out the weekend. Hopefully he can fix that, improve himself. We are obviously in the F1 2019 version of the F2 cars, which is why they look a little bit different in comparison to last year's version. But Max is P4 in the minute, coming up to the beautiful Cops Corner. I actually really like this car. And I was driving the F2 cars, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Can't remember exactly when. He's backed off. Okay, well, he's not happy with that lap. So look at Piloto then. So Piloto in P1 as it stands with Kai, who's actually just nicked it from him. Now up in a P1, Kai. This is we're seeing a very different Kai recently. He's been absolutely smashing it. I mean, in our league race that me and Kai do, he actually managed to get, I think it was P3 in qualifying, which was just incredible. The kid has got so much pace, and he's 12 years old. Bear in mind that's brilliant.
And he seems to be doing really well right now. Coming up to the final corner, still in front, still leading, and he gets pole position by quite a margin.
Yeah, 7 whole tenths separated between him and Default, who just snuck in there in front of Piloto by just 2 tenths between him and Piloto. So Kai Bacchini sits pole position for the F2 feature race here in Britain. It's his home track. He's going to be very happy with that one. But here is the rundown at the end of the one-shot qualifying. So Kai takes pole position, Default there in second, Piloto in third, Cryptic in fourth, Tortor in fifth, Ravenduck in sixth, Fossetti, who you know from the F1 cars, who's just announced he's going to be stepping out of the F1 cars and more getting involved in just the F2 side of things, in seventh, Hodgson there in eighth, Wolf, who's new to the F2 races here, in ninth, Max, who DQ'd along with Marky Mark. So there's 2 DQs. Marky Mark, if you remember, he was actually ridiculously fast last week out when we did this in Austria. It was great to see the performance, but that might shake a few things up. A little bit of raindrops.
Yeah. So first things first. What's interesting is that basically 2 of the quickest drivers from last weekend are now starting from 10th and 11th. So that might make for quite an exciting race, together with the rain, obviously, since, as we've seen over the past few weeks, ever since F2 started in the era now, rain and F2 cars don't work too well together. But it makes for some very interesting races.
Yep, it does indeed. Right, wet weather, strange conditions, difficult conditions, areas of the track that drivers are going to find very difficult. I think we're looking at the sort of Cops Corner being one of the main ones. It's very traditionally well known for requiring a lot of grip through the corner if you want to carry some pace through it. So we probably won't be seeing drivers absolutely go flat out through the corner on the basis that, well, we might see them, but we won't see them fulfill it because they will very likely end up in the wall. Max, I'm looking directly at you here. The others, though, I mean, Fossetti, hopefully he could bring the F1 sort of knowledge he's got into F2 and really start to dominate. But you're looking at the likes of... Oh, Max is not happy. He's showing his defiance. But yeah, we're looking at the sort of likes of Tortor, who's we know to be quite quick. Cryptic, actually. So he's also new to the F2 cars. He is ridiculous. In the F2, F1 cars, he's really, really, really fast. in the F2 cars, I was racing with him, I think it was yesterday, he was really, really quick. So I may have bigged him up a little bit now. The one thing we didn't do, though, was wet weather. So I don't know how good he is in the rain, if he's a rain master or not. But we got some familiar names back in here again. Hodgson's here as well. I'm very happy with this.
I'd argue that in the first, at least 2 laps, we're going to see who's actually practiced in wet weather. Because if you don't practice the F2 cars in wet weather, you're not gonna have a whole lot of fun. It's just so different. There's just even less grip, even less speed, and it gets really painful at times. And especially at a track like Silverstone, with its fast sweeping corners, rain is just going to slow them down so much.
Yeah, indeed. Especially with the fact that the slipstream is still huge. It does make a massive difference. And when you come up to Stowe here, again, it's another corner where you need a lot of downforce. You need to be able to carry momentum through the corner. But you carry too much momentum in cars like this, you'll very easily find yourself buried in the grass somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, even a sort of repeat of what we saw at the British Grand Prix this year in the official F1, where we saw Vettel go into the back of Verstappen in the entrance to the final chicane. And yeah, it was a pretty messy one, that one, but hopefully we will get some action similar but without the crashing. That'd be nice.
Right, let me quickly ask you for your top 3.
Oh, yes. Kai, Cryptic, Piloto. Default to DNF.
Well,
What's yours quick?
Kai, Piloto, Max.
Okay, no, that's good. I mean, I don't know how Max is going to pull that off, but we're about to find out as the lights are out and it is go time here in British Grand Prix territory as Kai Pacini is going to be leading the cars up towards turn 1. There's going to be looking for default. Is that a big wobble there? That's him over towards the wall, but no damage. He has fallen down the order there into P5. P6 now. There's a car that's run seriously wide. I can only imagine. Oh, big contact around the back. That's Marky Mark who's gone off. That's Ravenduck who's also lost wing damage. He's going to be struggling throughout. Wolf is also there, involved in that incident. Max is not really involved in the incident. It's just lost a little bit of places. Where as you can see, there's a lot of scrapping, lots of back ends kicking out, and lots of action happening near the front.
That's just so much going on already. So somehow Forseti got a 2-second penalty for multiple warnings, but while you were commentating what was happening at the back, Piloto is just pulling away. He's already 1.5 seconds ahead of Kai, who started on pole. Just, I don't know, took off like a rocket and just didn't give anyone a chance to catch him. Indeed.
Oh, more wobbles there. That was Tortoise. A little bit of wobble right there in front of Forseti. That actually forced Forseti to be back just a touch. Here comes Cryptic going through. That's him running seriously wide. Now as a result, we've lost Max. Where is that? Oh, yeah, he's lost that big style on the inside there. I think he must have just lost the rear end. Max, I said it earlier, and all he's done is prove me right. But race leader, Piloto, who did snatch that position away from Kai on this lap. Kai's now 1.5 seconds down, struggling in these wet conditions. I think he's hoping and praying that when we come to the next one, it's going to be dry, because he's going to need it. However, Default is slowly but surely bringing himself up to the back of him now, recovering from the mistakes he made on the opening straight lineup sprint. Who's that? Who's gone seriously off there? That is... I don't know. Somebody just went really far off track.
I didn't quite catch it, to be fair.
Well, we need to pay attention to Cryptic and Forseti as they are scrapping. Cryptic's gone deep into the corner. That's caused him to lose the car just a touch. Default's also losing the rear end. Forseti is the man who likes to drift, especially in these cars, and that's why he's doing such a good job of nailing it through the final sector. Already on the back of Default, looking for the turn 1 line. Ravenduck's getting a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, that's a deep line there from Forseti, and he's lost out.
The amount of people drifting around the last corner is incredible. Cryptic, Wolf, and I think Marky Mark just all drifting through there. Forseti now doing the same thing. It's so wet. There's no grip, and you can see how they're struggling. And maybe Piloto just had such a good start because obviously he's been in the F2 races for quite some time, and he's probably one of the drivers with the most experience in the rain. Yeah,
100%. I mean, I think Piloto has... he's a great driver in general anyway, but when it comes to the F2 cars, he just seems to have that natural talent to be able to manage these really heavy cars that don't really have a particularly a crazy amount of aerodynamics. You know, when it comes to being able to just pin the car to the ground, they lack somewhat. And the one thing they do have is a good sort of torque when it comes to powering away. But you just see how easy it is to snap the rear. And in these wet conditions, you can easily find yourself in a lot of trouble. And we are not far away, I think, from the intermediate tires. I'm starting to see a line forming. It's not it's not like a. There's still a fair bit of rain there. It's definitely wet weather tires, but we are not far away from the inters, I feel.
Well, and the question has to become: is anyone going to try and go into the inters? Because obviously we only have 7 laps, and even though the laps in the F2 cars take quite some time, will it even be worth going onto the inters if there are only like 3 or 4 laps left?
I really don't know. That's the difficulty, isn't it? Really, that's the question that's on the drivers' minds, trying to work out the best solution. Piloto sets the fastest lap with a 156.8, which is a good 30 plus seconds off the times you would see in normal F1 standards. But you can see though, Cryptic is starting to recover. Falsetti made a big mistake, and he's been wobbling a fair bit throughout this race, more so than normal. You can see he's all the way down there, but Cryptic is lining himself up for Hodgson. Hodgson there in P5. He's actually doing really quite well with himself. Loses the back end just a touch. Oh, that was a big wobble there. Hodgson caught it just about. There was almost contact between Cryptic and Hodgson, but no, they kept it together. Marky Mark and Wolf, teammates battling hard, coming through the first sector.
And Cryptic lost his back out of turn 3, out of basically hairpin, and just formed back immediately again.
Yep. Cryptic's having problems. I mean, like I said earlier, he's a very fast driver in these F2 cars, but when it comes to wet conditions, it seems to be his kryptonite, as he's not quite delivering the pace he was showing yesterday. But I mean, it's not over yet. Lap 3 of 7. Everybody's struggling. There's no doubt about that. Everyone is struggling. The one question is it going to be an issue of how many people finish the race rather than who finishes where in the end of the race? As Wolf showing us just how treacherous these conditions are. Cryptic's actually overtaking using off track, but he might lose it. He is run really wide there. Wolf and Cryptic are so close together. It's currently looking like Cryptic's got the position, but we are going through one of the most difficult sections of any track. Maggots and Beckett's. Is it going to be Cryptic pulling away, or is it going to be Wolf slipstreaming his way all the way up, getting a better exit? That's the crucial thing. And no, it looks like Wolf is going to stay P9, and that'll be the best he can do.
Are you sure? Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, actually, as you said, the slipstream very powerful, but not quite able to get close enough. Raven Duck disconnecting. Not quite sure what happened to him.
He's got a backup invite, so we should be all good. But Default sets the fastest lap of the session so far. Cryptic's ran deep again. This is going to bring Wolf into this now, trying to go around the outside through the second to last. Now coming up to the last, but he's run seriously wide, almost getting on the sausage curve. He's actually still somehow made that work. Cryptic couldn't get the power down, and that's allowed Wolf to just slip on past him. But Cryptic's coming straight on past again, back into P8. These two are going to be battling all the way to the end, I feel.
Possibly. I mean, unless one of them spins, which I hope doesn't happen. Because this is actually quite a good battle here. But what we see in the battle between the two is they're just all over the place. Cryptic almost losing his back again. Track limits don't really seem to matter at this point, and I can't really blame them, knowing how the F2 cars feel in the rain.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cryptic slowly bringing himself back up to the back of Wolf again. Like we said earlier, this is going to be a battle that just keeps on going, I think, unless one of them ends up DNFing. But they're both making mistakes. They're both sort of trying their best to keep together. That's Wolf holding a tight line, not allowing any inside line. But it does mean that Cryptic should be able to get the power down a little bit harder and a little bit earlier. Although somebody may want to tell Wolf that because he's just pulling away so quickly. Cryptic struggling to catch up. I mean, he's got the slipstream, so he's doing that. But now we're in Cobb's Corner. This is the area that Cryptic's been struggling in the most. Wolf getting the power down again as early as he possibly can, and it's going to stay as it is. But we have also got Falsetti catching up to Hodgson. Yes,
I was just going to mention that Falsetti getting really close through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapels, just falling back at the exit onto this back straight, and Hodgson seems to be able to keep his position for now. But obviously, 3 laps remaining, and as the laps take about 2 minutes, there's quite a bit of racing left for both of these guys. Hodgson going really deep into this third to last corner. Falsetti now right beside him through the last corner. Who's going to be able to keep
Oh, he almost binned that there. Went a little bit of a wobble coming out of it. Almost put himself onto the inside wall. I don't think he's got any damage, but that could have gone seriously badly had he not managed to catch it in time. And again, he's already bringing himself back up to the back of the car of Hodgson there, trying his best, but we'll see.
Yeah, just what we saw with Falsetti is in these F2 cars, especially in these conditions, maybe it's not as important to be quick. It's just important to be able to be consistent, not make any mistakes. Because if you lose the back, or if you just lose drive out of a corner, you're gonna lose so much time because the momentum in these cars is so important.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the main thing, isn't it? Really, that's the struggle, if you like. But Piloto still leading, has been since those lights went out and lap 1 finished. Kai has done well to maintain the pace though, because it was Piloto pulling away pretty rapidly. Kai sort of found his groove now and working himself together. But yeah, I'm not sure what Kai can do to bring this all together. There's no DRS to work on, there's no ERS to manage. It's purely just race pace and managing lines. If Piloto doesn't make a mistake, Kai will not be able to capitalize on this at all unless he can find some manner of just gaining tenths coming out of corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the question I'm asking myself is Piloto driving to the best of his abilities, or is he just managing the race, trying to get the race win? As I say that, he puts in a fast lap, so maybe he is actually trying his best to go as fast as he can.
Yeah, potentially, but we do have 2 battle... Oh, default's going faster though, and he's still 7 seconds down. He's been making mistakes after he finishes those hot laps, but yeah, he's trying his best. We've got yellow flag in Sector 2. Is that the Raven Duck? It is indeed Raven Duck. He's managed to get himself back in the lobby, but yeah, he is not having a great time today. 44 seconds down, sadly, but Cryptic is not having a bad time. He's not the best. Definitely had a lot of issues, bringing himself as close as he can to the back of Wolf. There was almost an issue there for Wolf. He nearly lost the back end. This is actually Cryptic carrying a lot more pace through turn 1 into turn 2. Not sure if he's going to be able to attack any harder than this, but straight down the inside. Beautiful line. He's going to have the outside for the next corner, but Wolf's made a big mistake. He's gone seriously deep, but he's now coming to cut the line beautifully. But that means that Cryptic can get the cut back, but he can't hold it. Loses the rear, and that allows Wolf to live another day and run away with P8. And look at that gap already. What's that going to be? 4.5, maybe 5 seconds when he finally gets to the gap reminder. 6.9 is what the gap ended up being. So yeah, Cryptic lost out massively there.
He's going to be really annoyed with himself because he lost the back at exactly the same position in turn 3 just 3 laps ago. Worked himself back into a battle, and now he's just in no man's land. 7 seconds behind Wolf. I guess the last remaining battle in this race currently is Hodgson against Falsetti for P5. These two have been battling for quite some time as well. Falsetti was really close at the beginning of the lap into turns 2 and 3. Has lost out a bit again though.
Yeah, Hodgson is under pressure, not for the first time this race. He's definitely been feeling the pressure a fair bit today. Trying his best to... big mistake there from Falsetti. He almost binned it, but that was a beautiful catch. It's something he's used to, obviously doing it in the iRacing days. He does try his best to manage those drifts and slides, but no, he just couldn't lose anything there at all. He's very good at catching the car, and that's allowed him to be in the position he's in now, which is still on the back of Hodgson, still trying to slipstream him, still trying to get as close as he can to make Hodgson make a mistake. But ultimately, it looks like Falsetti is going to be one to hold it through. This is where we've seen him go for it before. Last time he ran deep, this time he holds it tightly. This does give Hodgson the inside for the next one. I think ultimately, unless Falsetti gets the cutback, there's not really going to be an opportunity to get this position. He's really trying to motor that car all the way around. You can see how twitchy he is getting. And Hodgson, just very surgical, very reserved. Didn't try to just absolutely floor it, and manages to just hold on and just pace away. Falsetti tries to get the pace down, and that cost him a little bit.
Yeah, this battle between these two is just the perfect example of what I said earlier. It's about keeping the momentum, not losing the back at all, and that's what Hodgson is doing. And at the same time, I mean, it's quite obvious that Falsetti can go faster than Hodgson on a good lap, but Hodgson is just not making any mistakes, while Falsetti is losing his back over and over again and just losing out on so much time compared to Hodgson.
Yeah, he really is. So we are on lap 7 of 7 in this F2 feature race here in the Rwagnation League. We're not far away from the end, and is that Ravenduck? It is. Ravenduck, sadly, again, just struggling in this rain. I've seen him practicing quite a lot. There he is, look, just there as Piloto comes around the final few corners. There's the penultimate, and now he is on the final. Piloto, who has taken Kai on the first lap, now crosses the line to take a very solid victory here with Kai, delivering an exceptional performance still, but just lost out on the opening lap, and that allowed him to fall down into P2, but holds it nonetheless as Default crosses the line in P3 and gets the fastest lap to boot. He's really going good for the points positions. Tortos trying to drag his car around. He's about to make it, but he almost binned it. There he is across the line. And Falsetti lost that massively, falls down to P7.
Falsetti somehow spun and lost his entire front wing onto the back straight, and I didn't see what happened to him, but he lost out on a lot of time and his front wing, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be annoyed with himself because there was so much he could have done so much more in this race.
Yeah, you know, he absolutely could. I mean, the one thing that he has got going for him is the fact that he's finished so far down this race means he's going to be right up there in the next one. Obviously, they do reversed grid order when it comes to going into the sprint race, so prepare yourselves for that one. There is hoisting the trophy high is the one and only Piloto in P1. I really want to just mention how much Kai has improved versus the last time we saw him racing in the F2. Last time we saw him racing in the F2, he was trying his best, there's no doubt about that, but he just seemed to struggle, and I think, if I remember correctly, he actually DNF'd both the races that he was in. This one, he's shown not only consistency and the ability to get to the end, he's also shown a lot of pace to be able to get on the second step of the podium. You know, in comparison to the last time he was here, it's just incredible. So, and he got pole position, by the way, in the qualifying. You know, that really, really says a lot about him. But here is the rundown at the end of the feature race. So Piloto is P1 with 25 points gained for him. Kai there in second, Default in third, Toto in fourth, Hodgson in fifth, Marky Mark in sixth, Wolf in seventh, Falsetti in eighth, Cryptic in ninth, Ravenduck in 10th, and the only DNFer was actually Max, which I'm kind of not surprised about. But in terms of the weekend, not only is it a Piloto in P1, he's actually really not that far ahead of Kai. Because Kai got the 4 points from the qualifying, it puts him in 22 points. There's only 3 points separating between him and Piloto. And it's dry. So now we're going to see a very different race altogether. The drivers will feel a lot more comfortable, and hopefully there'll be a lot less mistakes.
And obviously, the race is going to be shorter, and everyone's going to try to gain as many positions as they possibly can. Or in the case of Falsetti, try and keep that pole position, because Falsetti got 8th, and that means he's going to be on pole position for this sprint race.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. Falsetti sitting on the front of the grid with Wolf not that far behind him at all. It's going to be a dash to turn 1, which Falsetti has actually got the better line for. Wolf will get hounded because he needs to try and move from the inside to the outside to maintain pace through the first corner. And ultimately, that's going to be probably the hardest thing he's done all race long, because the cars behind, if he has even a slightly bad acceleration off the start, he's going to properly lose out.
Yeah, and something that we haven't addressed today so far is how difficult starting in these things is.
Oh,
and
yeah,
how hard it is to get a consistently quick start.
I mean, we were doing it yesterday, and it was just floor it, but then you lose the rear end so easily.
That's basically it. Like, I do the same thing. Just floor it, just go full throttle and hope that it somehow sticks. And it's just so difficult to get a good drive out of these cars from the grid. Yeah. And that's also ultimately how Piloto just got onto P1 in the previous race. Immediately, right at the start. And especially in the rain, I know that starting on these in these things in the rain is even more difficult, quite obviously.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that ultimately is what the drivers struggled with in the last race. Just how hard it was. I mean, it's difficult in general, to do it in the wet conditions is just downright insane. So, good stuff that we actually got the cars off the line. I'm now obviously keeping very firm eyes locked on Forseti, because this is a track he's actually pretty decent at. But yeah, it's gonna be a really... Oh, we've lost a couple of cars on the formation lap. We're gonna lose some. No, we're not. I thought we were gonna lose some more, but we are good and Gucci. So our now race leader is gonna be Forseti, kicking us off when the lights go out. Is he going to be able to maintain it though? That is the real question. And I actually made, and I didn't realize this, I actually made an unintentional pun. I said Wolf is going to get hounded. I didn't realize that until just now.
Neither did I.
I'm gutted, because I'd have been very proud of that had I actually thought of it, but I didn't. But the one thing I did need to think about is the fact the lights are on and it's time to get underway with the F2 Grand Prix. This is the sprint races and we're very delayed, but we are finally away. Has Forseti got a good enough start? He hasn't. That's actually going to be Marky Mark just come flying down the inside and immediately into the race lead. As you come through turn 1, you can see cars going wide. That's Forseti. He's actually scrapping there with Wolf as well. Marky Mark gets the start of dreams.
And Default just dives into on the inside of Wolf into turn 3. Might be able to gain the position. Wolf is holding the inside. Default is gonna get the better exit though, and Wolf just spins. So that answers my question.
Raymond Duck also had the same issue coming out of turn 2 into turn 3 into turn 4. He lost the rear and just rotated off to the edge of the track. We do have Default managing to get ahead of Forseti. Forseti's right there with him. It was very close between the two. Forseti's actually found a gap there. He's going to go for it, but Default realizes, closes the door on him, says, nope, not today. Now you're going to have to chase me, catch me as fast as you can. And nothing is going to change at the minute. Kai, though, doing well to bring himself further up the order. In fact, let's have a look at the position changes. He is 2 places gained, whereas Default has managed to gain 4 places at the start of this Grand Prix.
Default is definitely not taking any hostages here. I'm wondering if he just managed to properly warm up his tires, because he seems to have so much more grip than anyone else. And he's basically on the back of Marky Mark immediately, and he might just become the race leader at the end of the first lap.
Oh, he's going for it. Marky Mark is going to have to defend hard through the inside of Stowe, which does allow Default to get the inside flick through. And now he's going around the outside for the final chicane here. It's a tight one, but if he can hold it, he will be able to get the inside through, and he does. Marky Mark now did a beautiful start, but he couldn't maintain that same amount of pace throughout the rest of the lap, as Default just takes off like an absolute bullet. Now in a P1, Forseti closing in on the back of these, they're both as well, slowly but surely. Tortor is not, despite the fact that it says 1 minute and 44 behind, he's not 1 minute and 44 behind. He's actually right there on the back of Forseti, with Kai breathing down his back.
Yeah, it looks to be a really close race right now, but just to add to your first point, Default is just, it's crazy. It's crazy how much quicker he was able to go on this first lap, and Marky Mark is able to follow him though, and still has quite some time left to retake his first place.
Yeah, indeed. Marky Mark bringing himself ever so close to the back of Default. Now it says 2.5 tenths, but if you look there, that gap looks like it's a good 6 or 7 tenths if you used to do the same in the F1 cars. Cryptic is actually really getting onto the back of Max. Max actually made a mistake there through Cop's corner. Did carry a lot of pace through the corner, but actually sent himself wide. So he would definitely got a warning for that one. But we're now in Maggots and Beckers. There is a 4-way battle going on. Piloto is leading it, with Max trying to chase him down. Hodgson's actually only just ahead of Piloto, sorry. And now Piloto's going for it. That's a change of positions. Hodgson on the inside for Stowe. Might be able to hang it together, but no, Piloto goes around the outside. Beautiful overtake from him there. And there's also battles going on between Kai and Tortos. Kai and Torto have a little bit of a touch there. Nothing too serious. Torto loses the rear just a touch. And immediately Kai is sizing him up, looking for it. No opportunity to attack. Now, there he is on the inside, turn 1. This is all down to Kai. He's not been able to get it. He did back out. But we are now on lap 3, which means DRS has been enabled.
You missed a lot of carnage at the back there. I think Forseti was the first one to spin, lost out on a lot of positions. And then there were like 3 more cars just not facing the right direction into the last corner. Not quite sure what happened there, but it was something.
It was something, and something else is happening. Is Kai again attacking Tortor? Tortor sends Kai to the outside, not really giving him any opportunity to do anything about it. But if Tortor lets that gap open, which Kai's now going to seize it, he says, "This is my opportunity. Yes, you might get a better exit, but I should be able to do anything." And no, there's contact, and that's just both of them getting on the curb a bit too hard. But Kai will be able to benefit from it in terms of gaining a position on Tortor, but loses 3 positions in the meantime. And that's both of them. No, that's Kai into the wall. Now that's definite wing damage. Left side's gone. That's also more cars rotating as well. Here comes, I believe it was Wolf down the inside. Kai and I think that's Fossetti.
Yep.
Yeah, also having issues. Actually comes across it. Well, that was very close there between Fossetti and Kai. Fossetti just didn't even consider how much he was going to be in the way there.
This is the carnage I expect from sprint races. 5 laps and everyone's trying to get as good of a position as they possibly can. There's a lot of action, but also a lot of just chaos.
Yeah.
Usually.
So as it stands, though, if the race was to finish how it is right now, Piloto will be the weekend winner. So taking so many points in the first race, now taking so many points in the second race, it will be an absolutely clear-cut winner that Piloto would have taken it. Kai was really the only person who had an opportunity to sort of challenge that. Marky Mark has done a good job of climbing the places in this Grand Prix. I don't remember where he finished in the first one. I don't know if you can remember.
I think Marky Mark finished 7th or 6th. So I think he started from P3 in this race. Don't quote me on it though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's done an exception. He definitely started P3. I remember that much. So yeah, you're right. But I mean, he's done a really solid a job overall to do what he did. I mean, on the start line, he absolutely took off and just sprinted past both of the cars, and before we even got to turn 1, and it was his. So, really solid stuff from Marky Mark.
Yep.
He just needs to find a way to catch up to the back of Default and go for it.
I'm gonna have to be honest with you. Unless Default makes a mistake, I'm not sure that Marky Mark will be able to actually catch him. Default just seems to be on another level right now.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, he's not the sort of person to shy away from mistakes, I mean, we saw in the first race, yes, it was wet and everyone was making mistakes, but he seemed to have made a lot of problems for himself, and he fell down the order quite considerably. Did manage to get P3 in the end, with the fastest lap to boot as well, but how many times did we see him lose control of the car, catch it, and then lose it again? But, ultimately it comes down to your finishing positions. It's not necessarily about the journey you took to get there, but it's about the fact that you are there. And that's what matters. And currently, Default is sat on that top step if it finishes the way it is. Now, we have started the final lap. Default's going to be leading 2.5 seconds from Marky Mark.
He just really has to keep his cool right now. Since, if you want to finish first you have to finish. And we saw it last week in the feature race with Max spinning while he was in the lead on the last lap. Maybe Default watched that back, and maybe he's thinking to himself right now, just keep your cool. Go a little slower and just bring it home.
Right, brilliant stuff. So, Default is doing an exceptional job to manage everything right now. Hopefully he doesn't recreate what Max did last week in Austria, where he was so close to taking that 25 points in the feature race, then binned it so severely on that last lap. And now Default has done almost the same sort of thing, where he's driven perfectly from the word go. Lights went out, he took off, and now is not far away. One hanger straight, a few corners to go, and he will be the winner of the sprint race. I don't think he has enough points to beat Piloto though.
Probably not, no. I doubt it. While you're talking about our race leader though, Kai is getting very close to Hodgson, and he's fighting for P7, so he might actually be able to gain one more position at least.
Yeah, he might indeed. I'm just keeping an eye on that gap in the meantime, as Default is going through the second to last corner. Not a single mistake has been made in this Grand Prix. That is the win for Default. Marky Mark will make his way to the finish line as well. And you can see the battle is exactly what you're talking about. Sky Pacini gets squeezed onto the inside, but he's still got the line. Does have to back off because because Kai overtook off track. He did have to back off to lay back through. Kai's lost it. He's in the wall. He's still got... Oh, he's out. He's retired from this Grand Prix. That is disaster for Kai after such a beautiful run in the feature race. and he was going for an attack to bring himself into some more points there on Hodgson. He just lost the car a little bit, and now he falls outside and DNS from the race on the final lap with Fawcetti, the last car to cross the line. Raven Duck, though, a nice solid P5. Turns out he can drive as long as it's dry.
He didn't get any screen time from us, but you know, it's crazy. I didn't even notice he was in P5. I almost forgot he was driving. But yeah.
He was pretty much just driving on an island, really, wasn't he? He didn't really have to do much for himself. He just carried on driving as he already had been. You know, so it's good stuff from him to be able to be in that position. But ultimately, it came down to the man, Default himself. Gets himself from P6 up to P1. Gets 17 points in his pocket and the fastest lap to boot. So, it's Default leading. Marky Mark P2. Piloto P3. Cryptic P4. Raven Duck P5. Wolf P6. Hodgson P7. Tortor P8, Fawcetti P9, and your two DNFs were Kai and Max. In terms of the weekend results, it's Piloto who wins by 1 point in front of Default. That fastest lap brought him so much closer to Piloto, but it just wasn't enough. He did indeed just lose out. Piloto takes the weekend overall. Default right there in P2. Kai takes third place with Marky Mark in fourth. Tortor taking fifth. Hodgson taking sixth. Wolf taking seventh. Crypt taking eighth. Raven Duck gets 9th, Fawcetti gets 10th, and the big Cheerio, which is Max, getting 0 points for the weekend and last place. So that's it for the F2 race. As always, thank you, Furball, for commentating with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Now, we are going to go to a small break while we prepare ourselves for the F1 race, where you see the main drivers driving around this track to really show dominance as they start battling even harder for their Drivers' Championship dreams. Stay tuned. We're going nowhere.